Hey Dragon Slayers! Today's video is about exercise and how it increases insulin sensitivity. Also, what exercises should you do? Where you go depends on where you start. If you're able to get your insulin levels measured, you'll have an idea of where you are now. This gives you an idea of what to do next, which we'll outline later in more detail. But if your insulin levels are on the low end, so below 6 microunits, or somewhere in between 41 microunits, 41 millimoles per liter, it's safe assumption that you're doing quite well and your insulin sensitivity is strong. If you're either already adhering to smart lifestyle choices or you're young enough to get away with bad choices for now. If your insulin levels are moderately elevated, anywhere between 7 to 17 microunits or 48 to 118, it's like millimole per liter, you should probably start making changes, particularly with the food you eat and how frequently you're eating. In the event your insulin is high at greater than 18 micro units or 125 moles per liter, you need to make changes immediately. Exercise to increase insulin sensitivity. As we saw in chapter 14, using your muscle is crucial in the fight against insulin resistance. If you don't already exercise, it can be tough to know what kind is right for you and how to incorporate it into your lifestyle. The best thing you can do right now is not be intimidated by it. We'll explore some helpful ways to start in a later video. So, what kind of exercise should you do? There is a benefit to any type of exercise, whether aerobics or resistance, though resistance training may offer a greater improvement in insulin sensitivity for the time spent. Nevertheless, before I continue, I feel compelled to state the obvious here. The best exercise to help improve your insulin sensitivity or achieve any other health outcome is the one you will actually stick to. Think of it this way. If you are convinced you should lift weights 3 times a week to reduce your insulin resistance, but the nearest gym is 30 miles away, you will have a wonderful excuse not to make that drive, and you may end up doing nothing at all. However, if you decide to walk or jog through your neighborhood, even though it may not be as beneficial on paper as resistance training, there are far fewer barriers to prevent this from happening, and you'll be more likely to do it. So, when committing to an exercise regimen, you will need to determine the genuine limitations in your situation, as opposed to excuses, and act accordingly. That said, aerobic and resistance exercise are both effective interventions to increase insulin sensitivity, and in an ideal world, your exercise regime should include both. To recap, aerobic exercise is any activity that seeks to more specifically train the cardiovascular and pulmonary systems by increasing the heart and breathing rate. This can be achieved in several ways, including most commonly running, cycling, spinning, or swimming. Resistance training forces a muscle to repeatedly contract or maintain a position against resistance with the intention of developing muscle and bone strength. For the novices, some of the exercises may be unfamiliar. Resistance training has a learning curve. I'd highly recommend becoming familiar with online resources or, if you can afford it, enlisting a trainer to help you become familiar with the various exercises and their proper movements. So, that's what I've got for you guys today. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps the channel out. And remember, guys, that together, you and I will slay the dreaded Diabetes Dragon.